Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some more puzzles on chess.com. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. I'm just a random person who enjoys chess, and I'm trying to get better at it. It's a really difficult, complex game, and one way that I try to work on getting better at it and wrap my brain around it is through solving puzzles. I have made it up to 2175. I think it would be awesome if I could break 2200 today, but I don't know what the chances of that are. In this puzzle, my opponent has just moved out of check. I noticed that my bishop is over here. That's what was protecting the rook, and it's also opened up for discovered check on the king. I can move my rook someplace, but I also noticed that my queen is in danger, so I'm not sure what I should do here. For example, if my queen wasn't in danger, I could just, move the rook over here and take this a7 pawn. They would be in check. When they got out of check again, then I'd get their rook for free, but then they're going to get my queen, which is probably bad. Now, one thing I could do is take their bishop, offer a queen trade here. I suppose that they could then check me one way or another, and I could block with my queen again or get out of check again, by moving the king or something, and then do that up there. But my opponent is drastically ahead on material right now. Okay, I just noticed that my queen can escape over here to a4, which would be a check if the king was where it was originally, and I can force the king to go back there. I wonder if that's a good idea. I can sacrifice the rook. I can check on e8. I think they would have to take it because they're in check from the bishop and the rook. They couldn't get out of check any other way other than taking my rook. And then I could check them with the queen. They'd be forced to move over. I would have a follow-up check with the queen, but then they would have two options to get out of that check. And if they went to d7, I could check them again, but then they would have two options to get out of check. And if they had gone to c8, then I guess I could check them over here, and then they would have at least two options to get out of check. I don't know if that's good or not. I'm also pretty sure I don't want to put the queen there first, because if I put the queen there first, planning a checkmate down here, I assume my opponent would move this bishop back to b5, check me with the queen, and then when I get out of check, they would take my queen with their bishop. So that's not good either. Okay, so what if I, for example, come over to c7? If they went over here to g8, then I would have checkmate. So I don't think they'll go over to g8. If I check on c7, that's the discovered check from the bishop, right? If they come toward me, then I can check with my queen. And if they come toward me, then I would not have checkmate because their knight is there. Rook to c7 check. They come over to e8. If I check with the queen, they can keep going toward the rook. Oh, wow, this one's tough. Okay, I paused for a long time. Once again, I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm pretty sure it's not taking the bishop because they could trade queens with me and they're still ahead. Wait, maybe that is it. Maybe my initial instinct was right. I take the bishop, they take me, I take back. What does my opponent play? Because then I'm going to be able to get this with check and take their rook. How can they protect against that? They could move their king. Okay, so after I've taken their queen, they could move. If they move the king the other way, then that's checkmate, so they won't move the king. Because they can't move the king without putting themselves in checkmate. And if they move a pawn to give the king somewhere to go, then again, I get this with check, and then I get the rook. I'm going to try that. Nothing else seems promising, but if it's wrong, we'll find out why. It clearly was wrong. Okay, let's go to the analysis board, and hopefully we'll find out what was wrong with my idea there. Okay, my opponent was ahead until they moved the king. They should have gone to d8. Those were the only two legal moves, but they went the wrong way, which gave me mate in 2, really. Okay, all right. It was rook capturing e6. It was moving back this way. I mean, I don't think I said it, but I did obviously see that anywhere moving the rook is check from the bishop, and I did see this one, but I didn't see that that's mate in 2. But anything else is a draw or worse. Well, just out of curiosity, okay, this is what I did play, which it says it would have taken us to drawn. Okay, so I would have played here. Their best move would be queen to b1 check, and then I would block with my queen, and they would probably take it, it says. They wouldn't take this pawn. Interesting. Okay, but moving back here is mate in 2 because they can't come this way. They have to go over, and then that's mate. Oh, wow. That seems really obvious now. Okay, so let's replay the puzzle. So it was this. They had to go over, and that's checkmate. Oh, that's okay. That seems really easy now. Oh my goodness. Well, I lost a bunch of points on that one. I'm going to have to make them up now. Was that 13 points that I lost? No, that was 17 points that I lost. Okay. Well, I have the black pieces. Well, let's see. I have a couple of different checks here. I don't know which one would be best. Let's see. I mean, I have a ton of different checks actually, but obviously that check and that check I assume are pretty bad. As is this check over here. That one is bad. That one is bad. As is that one. So what about safe checks, which is what I need right now? I need safe checks. That's not safe because their queen's guarding that square. This one and this one look like they're safe, as does the one down there on C1. All of those look safe to me. Keeping in mind that my knight is guarding E2, so the king can't come forward. I'm not sure, but I think that going to E3 is better than going to E4 just because it's closer. And, you know, that way my queen cuts off a bunch of squares here. If I check one back, if I check back here on E4, then, you know, the king has other squares it can escape to. But if I check on E3, you know, my queen is covering these as well as those and this one. So the king only has two choices. I can also open with knight checks. Okay, that's something else to consider. But let's say queen to E3 check, and the king moves over one, then moves over to F1. You know, then I can check again here with the knight. I mean, with the queen protected by the knight. Then it would have to move over again, and I can check again. And then it would have to move to the corner, and I could check again. They would have to come up to H2. But I can't, but I wouldn't be able to do checkmate just because of where their rook is. Their rook's guarding the whole G file, so I wouldn't be able to go here and make it checkmate. Okay, what about the knight checks? Oh, sorry, I didn't look at this queen check, but I mean, the king just comes out, right? I come back, and then they can go down, and then I come over, and then we end up in that same situation we were in before. All right, what if I check first with the knight? They can't come toward the knight because, well, my queen's guarding that square, but they could come toward the knight this way. But then I can check again, and they can come toward the knight. Okay, I can also check over here with the knight. They could come toward it. And then I could move the knight, and it would be check from the queen. And when they got out of check, my knight would be blocking the rook from seeing the entirety of the G file, but I don't know if that helps or not. I have a feeling this is going to be a bad day for me because I'm just not seeing it. I'm going to go queen to E3 check. That's what I would probably play in a game. Oh, that was right. Well, as I said earlier, I can check here. I can also check here, but I don't know which one's better. But I do need to keep checking. My opponent is about to checkmate me pretty quickly here. They can check me a number of ways, but I think checkmate is incoming if I'm not careful. Well, I can't get right in front of them for mate yet because of where my knight is, but I can safely check them 2, 3 different places. I'm pretty sure C1 is bad because that lets them off the back rank. But if I go to F3 and they can go back to where they were. Oh, but if they go back to where they were, then I have mate. So if I go to F3 and they move over one, then we're basically in the same situation that we were before, where I can't mate them over there. Okay, well, what if I check them then on E2? They move over, let's say. I can check them again with the knight. They have to move over again. I don't know. I've spent way too long on this one already. But yeah, I can't not check them. Like, I can't go here preparing for something. I have to check them now, I'm pretty sure, because of where their king is. I mean, because of where their queen and rook are. So I think I need to check them now. But I don't know which one of those is better. Guess I could check on D3, but then that lets them off the back rank. So I'm going to check on E2. Oh, that was it. Well, I was thinking of checking knight to F3, but that just puts them in the corner, and then that's mate. No, it's not, because they can block with the rook. But then that's mate. Wait, why didn't I see that from the beginning? I'm pretty sure if I check here, they only have one legal move. And then when I go here, I think that's getting close to checkmate. Okay, they're going to block with the rook, but that's mate. Okay, I mean, I only got 3 points out of the 17 I just lost, but yeah, I couldn't see that from the beginning somehow, but I saw it eventually. So my first couple of moves were basically guesses because I couldn't see the ending. Next puzzle. Okay, looking for checks again. I have a check with the knight, which I don't think they would take with the queen because my queen's protecting that square, but they could come toward it. I can also check with the queen down on E8. They would have only one legal move at that point, and then I could get their rook. Or instead of getting their rook, what if I checked again? Because my knight and queen would be covering all of these squares. My rook would be hitting those two. They would be forced to come out one more, and my rook would be cutting here too. Then I could check with the knight. They couldn't come toward the knight, have to come up or over. And if they went to A6, I could bring the queen back to A4. If they went to A5, then I think they would go to A5 because I'm not sure what I would do then. Because their knight would be... Yeah, if they went to A5, I wouldn't have a follow-up. Okay, just to retrace my steps here. I check down there on E8, they have to come up to C7. And then I have the option of taking their rook, which I think is bad because they have a pretty nice discovered check going on down here. My knight is hanging, so I don't think I should just take their rook because they have stuff that they can do. So I think I need to check them. So I check them, they come out to c7. Then I can either check them with the knight or the queen. Oh, but no, their queen's guarding that square, so I wouldn't do that. So either the knight back here on d5 or the rook over to c1. Wow. Well, again, I can't see the ending. I'm going to try this. Maybe it's wrong. It wasn't wrong. Okay, so now it's either the knight or the rook. So is it the knight or the rook? If I check with the knight, they can't come forward because of the queen. They can't go to any of those squares because of the queen. They can't go here because of the knight, right? My knight's hitting those two. The queen's hitting all of these. Wait, is that checkmate? Is it checkmate with the knight? Well, then it's the knight. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it took way too long for me to see that was checkmate. Okay, and I got 3 more points for it. Oh, it took so long on those first couple of puzzles. I'm not going to have time to make up all of that I lost. But I am going to do another puzzle because that's what we do here on puzzle solving videos. I don't know. I feel a little bit rusty today. That's because I haven't been doing this as often as I used to, but I'm going to move the bishop to c3. That was not it. Let's find out what it was, and then I'm going to be done here today. That extra 17 point just killed me right there. And probably it's going to be obvious again. Okay, so I had a pretty slight advantage before they messed up, but once they did that, the only move is queen to c1, and then they would take it, and then I would take their queen, and they would run away with their bishop back where it came from, and then I would take this pawn. That's what Stockfish's line here says. That's not what the puzzle line says would happen. So I have to play queen to c1 here. Not sure I get that, but let's hit retry, and I have to play queen to c1. Okay, I'm going to play queen to c1. They're going to take it. I'm going to take with the rook. Yeah, well, I'm going to take their bishop since they didn't run away like Stockfish said they should, and then I'm going to take their knight. Back to the analysis board. All right, so after they picked up this pawn, so black's a pawn ahead, but I'm winning if I play queen to c1. Okay, so I play queen to c1. Is it their best move to take my queen? It is, by a noticeable margin. Well, because they can't run away, right? And there's nothing protecting their queen. So that makes sense that they would take my queen. I don't understand the second best move, which is taking the rook, and I don't understand how that's only 1 point different, because then I would get the queen for the rook. But I do get taking the queen, because if they move back, I'm going to take their queen. If they move here, I'm going to take their queen. If they move here, I'm going to take their queen. If they move here, they're going to take the queen or there, right? So it makes sense to take the queen. So there, and now the only move that makes sense for me is this. I would have guessed that one. And it says bishop to f5, just as it did earlier, or bishop to e4, one of those two spots. But in the puzzle, they played knight to c6. So my question is, why wouldn't they have played one of those two moves and let me have their c7 pawn? Because they just got my c2 pawn, and they're still a pawn ahead. So I would have expected the bishop to come back. All right, so I got a pawn. They're going to move the rook out of danger. And now we're even on material, but I'm up +4. Does anyone know why? It says my best move is bishop to a5. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not an expert, or I wouldn't be here struggling with this. But I don't see how that's +4. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm disappointed in my results today, but that's how it goes sometimes. I lost 34 points and gained back 6, so I think I netted negative 28 points in this video. That's not great. As always, thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.